let's get started then. So, Alex, is there anything Taco missed that you want to talk about and set the scene a little bit before we dive in?
Not really, no. I'm just a guy who just fell into SEO like we all did.
Indeed.
Just designing websites. Except, well, you mentioned I've designed websites since 2003. I just used to do it in uni instead of, everyone had flyer jobs or working at a bar. I was like, I know just about enough that I reckon I can just do a website for a few £100. This is before I even knew what WordPress was. It was even before WordPress. I couldn't do anything. It was basic HTML, and then I learned this weird stuff called PHP, and then I started getting into that, and it just led me through naturally to WordPress, because without a content management system, how are you supposed to get anyone to edit anything without highly technical help? And that's where it led. And then fast forward quite several years now, I'm realizing how old I am. So if I've been doing 20 years, we've just got a small company, a small agency in Manchester. We do web design and development, WordPress development, of course, and also we do organic and paid marketing. And in that, of course, led into Web3 activity.
Nice. Very similar to my own background, though woefully less successful. So good work there. Nice. Okay, so today's agenda, very similar to usual. However, the eagle-eyed amongst you might have noticed that we will be tackling Bing before we tackle Google this week in an unprecedented shift. I see lots of people asking, as ever, will there be a recording? Yes, there will at yoast.com/webinar, I think. That'll be available fairly shortly. Very nice. Okay, and we're doing all the usual stuff today. There'll be time at the end for some Q&A, like I mentioned. If you would like to know more about the stuff we talk about today, there is a handy link here, yoa.st/webinar Feb 23. That will contain more info and links to all the things we talk about, even some stuff we didn't get time to today. You can go and do your own reading, very handy.
And there's also a button for this, Jono. So if you click on the green button, yes, it now says topics and sources. So this takes you immediately to the link.
Oh, that is smart. That is very smart. And then in the meantime, if you feel at any point a bit lost, like we've got a bit too technical, like we're talking in acronyms that you don't understand, I mean, we're all going to be lost at the Web3 stuff for sure. But for the rest of it, if you want any more context, go check out Yoast SEO Academy. It has a basic grounding in all this SEO stuff, and we'll get you up to speed. Very, very cool. Last advert, I think, Taco mentioned that you can come meet us in person at a bunch of events this year. The most exciting one of those is obviously YoastCon 2023, coming in May in the Netherlands. Tickets are on sale. There's a link there. It's a one-day event. It has been handcrafted to have some of the best experts in SEO across local. We've got speakers from Google. We've got e-commerce stuff. We've got conversion stuff. We've got content stuff. It's going to be one of the best events in the year. I'm speaking. It's going to be super cool, even with me on stage. Come see us there, please. Very cool. Okay, we promised. This has never happened. This has never, ever happened. Like we do a whole bunch of Google news every month, and then we go, oh yeah, and Microsoft woke up and remembered to do some stuff. This time, Bing have stolen the whole industry's thunder. If you've been living under a rock, Bing came out of nowhere and announced that they had launched a AI-powered chat system into their search results. And this is huge for a couple of reasons. One is Google have been saying they've been going to do this for years and it's not materialized, and Bing just said, here it is. Two, one of the great limitations of chat AI things that we've talked about previously on this show is that they're trained on historical data, and quite a lot of the things you might want to ask or talk about with these systems is going to be current and is going to require them to have access to the internet and search results. And previously that was difficult. Bing's solution is sort of tied into their search results system, so it can talk about and explore and give answers about stuff that's happening now, stuff that's in their index. That is huge. And of course, overnight, everybody's playing with this and experimenting. This feels like a huge land grab, a huge market share grab. It may be Bing's return to power. It's integrating with Skype and Word and other stuff. They're looking at ways to monetize. Super interesting. I think this might be them coming back from being the underdog to even maybe taking the lead on Google for some types of searches. Feels like a pretty big deal, right? What do we think?
Well, I mean, I think it's actually really exciting. The whole concept of AI within SERPs is going to be interesting for so many reasons. I'm sure you can do a whole show about it, just about this. But it's interesting to see how fast it's developed at such infancy in such a short space of time, that the next 3 years are going to be even more interesting to see how it really permeates into everyday life. And one more thing to think about, is it a fad? Because I feel like voice search was this kind of thing a few years ago. Everyone's going to be voice, everyone's saying things to Alexa, and then you realize, actually, I've not heard much about it in the last year, and it's just something that you either do as a certain project, or if that's in your business model, or you just don't, and that's it. But I don't know, the AI ChatGPT's integration into SERPs, into Bing SERPs, are extremely interesting for the intent of the searcher in the future, I think, as well.
Yeah, agreed. I think voice is a really interesting analogy because it was cumbersome and it required technical setup for the websites, and it required the user to change their behavior. Like, I'm going to speak my query rather than type. It was all a bit weird. Whereas this just feels like a kind of another intuitive layer on top of the search results. I think one of the interesting things that they published a blog post talking about their Prometheus model, which is the system that powers it. And one of the things their research had discovered was there's like a scale. And on one end, there are types of searches where the person knows exactly what they want. Like, if I type Wikipedia, I don't need an AI chatbot system to guide me through a conversation. I just need to get to Wikipedia. Whereas if I type, what was the example? Something like, I'm looking for a good vegetarian restaurant to take 6 people that serves a good chocolate dessert. That's a real kind of, I need to explore, I need to filter, I need options and to refine. That's the kind of thing where actually a kind of guided summary system might be really good. I don't know whether that needs to be a chat experience or whether it could be like a workflow, but it's pretty cool.
Yeah, and I think, like you said, the voice required people to do something, and this, at this point at least, feels like Bing is doing the heavy lifting, and all you have to do as a user is continue business as usual. You'll just get a sort of different result back. Hopefully a better result. But if it's no longer sourced from websites like we've been used to, then what does that do for Bing as a search engine? How relevant is SEO going to be if, well, and we've asked the same question for ChatGPT a few months ago, but do we still go to a search engine to find an answer? Do we still go to a website to find an answer? Or is the answer going to be generated right where we asked the question?
Yeah, that's tricky, isn't it? I think Bing have done a better job of this than Google have with any of the stuff that Google have done. It's not the same, but Google, we continue to bash because they never cite their sources well or at all. Whereas in the Bing stuff, you can see when you get the results, it will highlight and put in little source citations so that you can go and interrogate a fact or an answer and go find out more. And those just feel like a different type of search snippet, right? You hover over that little source citation bit, and it will show you the page title and the description and the URL. And it's just a different way and place to compete. I still think there's a place for your website and your content has a chance to stand out and attract visitors and custom, but not if you're trying to rank for the kinds of things that can just be easily answered by a system. Like, you need to be adding value and context that encourages and requires people to visit your site. Tricky,
but fun.
Oh, it's going to be fun. Okay. It's definitely going to be fun. And different verticals, I think, will have different issues. Will have none at all. I don't know if you're doing, high-end investments and you need critical research that maybe a machine can't. You're always going to need some kind of human intervention to make some decisions like that. But I don't know, some of the tests that I've seen, where I live in Miami, I've got $1,000 and I don't want to travel for more than 4 hours. Where can I go? And it's when it aggregates different data from different sites and provides it, but it can't actually deliver that result, right? It can guide you to the result. And I think that is kind of weird way, like semantic search or entities, the way in which it's a method of structured data, I believe, is the way. There's that bridge between the AI, the information it gets, and where it actually should lead you, or where it if it needs to lead you anywhere. Because getting a recipe for spaghetti bolognese, you can get that from AI, but I still look at 3 different sources anyway to see which one I prefer as a person. So it's again, it depends what you're searching for is going to be really interesting.
Yeah, for sure. Really interesting. Yeah, it's not going to give out medical advice anytime soon, is it?
You'd think
Hopefully
so.
not.
Right.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed. Okay, so yeah, Bing took the thunder, but Google have been busy as well. So they frantically, like the next day, organized a big press release. I don't know if everyone saw it. It was super awkward. There was meant to be a live demo of some of their new AI tech, except the person presenting had lost their mobile phone on stage. Like, can't organize it very well. And essentially, it was meant to be a big announcement of their new Bard technology, which is their equivalent for live chat and search. Very briefly mentioned that, and then kind of awkwardly recapped a bunch of stuff we already know about, like Google Lens's capabilities and some of the 3D mapping stuff Google have been working on, which we definitely talked about on this show like last year. As a result of that kind of falling a bit flat, Alphabet's share price dropped by 9%. So Google were behind, recognized they were behind, and botched their attempts to try and hold their side. So they're working on something. The narrative from them seems to still be this stuff is dangerous when it's wrong, which is completely fair. So they're taking it slowly and carefully and making sure they get it right so that they don't give you bad investment advice or bad health advice. But Bing have already got to market and it's already doing useful stuff. They're way behind now. So it'll be interesting to see what their next move is.
Yeah, and still it's Google. I mean, they're gonna come back at some point with something that's going to blow all our minds and that's gonna be worth the wait.
Yeah, I think so.
Is it? Is it going to be worth the wait, or are they going to show us? Are they going to show us something and then 3 years later ask us to pay for it? And it depends what's their intent of the AI. Of course, as as PR, you're going to always spin it as we want the best thing for the searcher, right? But they are a money-making business, so what's in it for them as a SERP? Why wouldn't they want? In a weird way, they may want the more traditional, normal website citing
where they can show adverts.
Exactly. So AI may decrease the need for adverts, like Sky Plus have the advertising sector making choices of if someone's on forward 30, what are the frames that they'll see? Because that's the only chance I have. I'm never going to watch the whole thing.
Wow.
It's the same thing. Is it actually interesting for Google to really do this? But as they see now, fact checking, a very small thing that they can do that's obviously cost them quite a huge chunk. Larger than I thought it'd be, but still, it's a big penalty.
Yeah, it is. That's a fascinating way of looking at it, because this has long been the argument about why they might struggle to launch something like this. Is their entire revenue model is somebody searches, they see a list of options, and alongside those are a bunch of adverts. And then the other side of that marketplace is on those websites are adverts for other websites. And like you break both aspects of that marketplace, and there's not really been an answer to how do you monetize any of this. We saw the same problem with voice. Like when you take away the search result as we know it, the money stops working. And then what's the incentive for news publishers to cover local events when they can't generate ad revenue from it because that whole ecosystem's broken? And it just all falls down. So Bing have forced Google's hand. We don't know what the response will be.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, fun times. So alongside that, Google have also doubled down on their guidelines about AI-generated content. It feels like we cover this every month or so when they refine it, but they really are getting clearer on their stance now. And the current premise is use whatever you want to produce whatever content you want, as long as it meets their EEAT guidelines, which makes sense. Like we've said this a whole bunch of times, probably don't use content AI systems to go and auto-generate all of your content because it will suck. Use it as an assistive tool as part of your writing and ideation processes, and then add value, add expertise, fact check, grammar check, make sure that the stuff you're writing is opinionated and differentiated, really demonstrates that you know what you're on about. It doesn't matter what the tools you're using are to do that, whether it's a typewriter or a laptop or ChatGPT. Makes sense, and hopefully that will continue to be the case.
Yeah, I just shared a link in the chat, which is a piece written by our colleague Sam about AI content,
Nice.
and we may have to add that to the topics and sources page as well because it's definitely related. The main question there is AI content helping or hurting your website? Because there's a lot of that. So
I mean,
yeah, there are some
I would go
traps.
with the latter. As an SEO, I would go with the latter. You know, like Jono said, use it to create ideas that you produce, rather than telling it to produce something. I think the explanation of the Google guidelines was don't think that you can just produce 100% content on your website and think it's going to rank, because it will know. And that's especially what I think it's doing as well. Like if you look back at Panda and Penguin, you know, algorithm and webmaster guidelines are, in my opinion, exactly the same as they are today. They're just more concise. They're explaining it a different way, which is where EEAT comes from. They are the original webmaster guidelines in long form. And
yeah, for sure.
And it's more thought out. So now they're going to only do this with technology to produce that content as well. Because is AI authoritative? I wouldn't say so. It has maybe everything else, but maybe not authoritativeness and trustworthiness. Not 100%.
Yeah, and certainly not intentionally, right? You might get bits of that accidentally, but yeah, you're not going to create anything that's going to stand the test of time or scrutiny.
Yeah.
And then alongside that, one more piece to that puzzle is we've had a few of these now. Google has been rolling out dedicated kind of a focus on the product space, specifically in the product review space. They have a whole set of dedicated guidelines for if your website is reviewing products or services, then you've got to go a step extra beyond just EAT. All makes sense. You want to make sure that the content is written by people who have experienced and touched and handled and compared and evaluated the thing they're reviewing. Otherwise, it's just a third-hand opinion and it's not really adding value. This is rolling out in more languages and in more verticals. If your website is reviewing stuff, say you're an affiliate comparing products, it's going to get harder and harder to do a good job of that unless you are actually legitimately really reviewing the things. And that takes time and money and energy and expertise, but it means the 10 sites who are doing it authentically will rank, and the million sites who are just writing about what's been written about don't need to exist anymore. So worth doubling down on that quality and actual authenticity. And then a complete change of topic. Web performance is still a thing, and core web vitals are still super important. The system behind all of that and that defines those metrics and measures it is Lighthouse. We've talked about this a lot. Lighthouse 10 just launched, which is the latest iteration, shifted around some of the scores. If you haven't tested your website's core web vital scores in a while, worth retesting now. You may be pleasantly surprised to see that they've improved because some of the old metrics have gone. Some of the weightings of different metrics have changed. If it's got worse, you've got work to do. But I think the broader thing here to remember, we've talked about this, as these metrics change and evolve over time. And speeding up your website isn't something you do once. It's something you need to keep an eye on as the tools change, as user expectations change, as millions more users in the developing world and in countries with poor network connections come online and visit your website. The thresholds to which you need to be passing will change. Continually reevaluate that, put the work in, and make sure that you're passing those scores. But, go ahead.
Yeah, so I think that while Google says that core web vitals shouldn't be a top priority, getting a charger for your laptop is. So, Alex, this is your cue to run. Grab your charger.
Nice. Oh, we're very pro here. Very good. So yeah, Google on the back of that said, like, don't obsess about this. And most websites shouldn't need to prioritize this above other things. And they're completely right, unless your website is super slow, in which case do go prioritize speeding it up. Look at your core web vital scores, benchmark them against your competitors. All that data is in the, I forget what the data set is, but it's all linked to from the core web vitals reports. You can go and query any domain. And yeah, like all SEO stuff, don't focus myopically on one thing. Don't focus just on links, just on content, just on performance. Find the right balance of those, but do prioritize this if it needs prioritizing.
Yeah,
Like it's weird for the people will prioritize what John Moo says not to prioritize, and like the whole thing's a bit weird.
yeah. I mean, reading this and reading it 2 or 3 times, it basically says don't focus on core web vitals unless your core web vitals aren't good enough, which means you
Yeah,
still need to test them to know that. Yeah.
yeah. Rocket science, right? SEO's hard. And then another last bit of updates to the let me get rid of my WhatsApp popping up on my screen. To the ecosystem. Some new toys in Google Search Console. If you haven't been here, take a look. There are some new data points in the video report. I was frustrated with this. It was really nice to see you can now get impressions of video and video pages. Super helpful to understand which of my pages are getting seen in search results as a result of having videos on them, and where are my videos getting seen. But this data is only available in a few places, in a few ways, and you can't go and query and pivot and explore. It's pretty basic, but hopefully they'll expand out on it. So if you are doing anything with video, this is more insight than you'll have had previously, but something not life-changing. But hopefully we get some more. I now can't move my thing. There we go. Okay, slight change of pace, a little bit of WordPress news. We are very close to WordPress 6.2 launching. As ever, in the current way of things, most of this focuses on updates to the block editor. So there's a distraction-free writing mode where you remove all the stuff. There's lots of new blocks and patterns and full-site editing stuff. The one big new thing which I'm particularly interested about is we are currently on track to get an open-verse integration, which will let you pick attribution-free images and put them into your content, which would be pretty cool, and different license options. There are, however, some performance issues with it, which we've uncovered this morning, maybe yesterday morning, I've lost track already, which the Yoast team and the core team are working on interrogating. And there's some privacy implications too, so hopefully we get that cracked and we get that shipped in time to land in 6.2.
Yes. And
Nice.
if you have any plugin theme running on WordPress, make sure that you test the betas, because this is where you can actually prevent your product from not working with the latest version of WordPress. So
yeah, you can go to WordPress.org, find the latest version in testing, and go get it and give it a field test on your staging site, which you should definitely have, or local development site, which you should definitely have before you update to a big new version. Okay, very quickly, some social media news. Everybody's favorite disruptive platform, TikTok, has just become the UK's most popular social media platform for shopping, which isn't the biggest news in the world, but I think is interesting because it does represent a broader trend of the merging of social discovery, short form video, and shopping. These are all becoming one set of behavior, and not just for the youth, but more broadly. This is how people relax socially in these environments, whether it's TikTok or Instagram or whatever. They browse, they scroll, they find things, they become brand familiar, they build brand relationships, and they transact there. They never go to Google, they never search, they never go through your transaction funnel. This all happens in these ecosystems. As we always say, I don't think this replaces the need for a website. It doesn't replace the need for content marketing, but this is where discovery happens. And you do need to be present, you do need to be engaging so that people know about and recognize and see your brand, so that when they do Google, when they do go back into those ecosystems, you stand out and you have a better chance of capturing that intent. Which the numbers are staggering.
Well, and I think what really stands out is the difference between the average consumer and Gen Z, with 10 versus 19 purchases each year through TikTok, which is a huge difference in generations. And then I don't know the whole demographic for TikTok, but it definitely stands out.
Yeah, this is not small numbers for sure. And then on the other side of the social media divide, everybody's favorite aging grandparent, Mark Zuck, launched his own blue tick. Like, this is a very strange move, right?
You get a badge, you get a badge, you get a badge. You pay for a badge, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you pay for a
I'm
badge.
baffled. And the price is so high. Like Meta Verified starts at $12 a month on the web. I'm not convinced. I'm not entirely sure I see the value. Maybe they'll add lots of new features and capabilities that makes this worthwhile, but yeah, I don't think I'll be buying one.
Yeah, Angela asks in the chat, is it similar to what Musk did for Twitter? Yes, but more expensive.
And with fewer features even then,
Yeah.
I think.
But it's
Very
weird.
odd.
I find it weird that they're doing it just after Musk decides to do it. Like, they're literally copying, like, oh, I know how to make a few quid a month. Like, I'll just add this functionality. He's not gone into anything about what it'll do, how it will help. Will it remove ads? Well, that's not good for the ad ecosystem if people are going to do that. You know, this again, all of these knock-on effects that I don't think is thinking through as well as he should.
This doesn't smell like deep strategy, does it?
No, it doesn't. And I thought Meta, changing to Meta and creating the metaverse was a deeper strategy, right? And what's happened to that so far? So it's interesting to see what he's going to do with it. But I thought the blue ticks were there anyway. Like, I don't know if either of you have got like a verified badge on Twitter before he did anything, right?
I've got one on my phone.
I've had a blue tick, but I've been told that it may be taken away from me because I've got a legacy blue tick. And I'm like, I don't.
Yeah, I've got grey tick or yellow tick or who knows?
What do you want me to do? Pay you to have the blue tick that you gave me a few years ago because it's not authority? I don't understand. You're paying for authority. That isn't authority, right? That's not merit.
Yep, agreed. It's all very strange. And I like Musk's move of let's extract some money from this was I think a clever tactical play that maybe brought in some dollars overnight, but isn't a long term. But then for Mark to go, let's copy that, but only in Australia is really weird. Oh well, we'll keep an eye on this. This may be the end. We've talked a few times. Maybe the death of social media is coming, and this is just all of them losing their minds. Well, we shall see.
On the other hand, if it works, maybe we should start introducing purple ticks for Yoast.
Right, I know what we're doing. Yeah,
might
this
be
is
onto
next
something
week's plan.
Yep. $11 a month.
$100 a month. There's value there. We'll come up with some features. Okay, new stuff in iOS. Usually not my area of focus as an Android person, but iOS finally got the ability for websites and PWAs to send push notifications, which is something Android's had for what feels like 100 years. But it does open up an entirely new model of interacting and engaging with and spamming audiences. I think this is really interesting. If you've got a website that is publishing content that is time sensitive, like news, or is releasing things, I don't know, like NFTs, or is doing things which you want to alert an audience in real time in a way that is more immediate than email, push notifications are obviously a really big deal. And having proper support for that in iOS opens up a huge market to that. It's not hard to imagine websites going, okay, we're going to add support for this for users who say, remind me about an event, now get a push notification rather than an email. It's a much more direct and immediate thing. This is really interesting, I think, for the web ecosystem as a whole. We'll see how we avoid it getting abused and spammed. This could be really good. Okay, some Yoast news before we finish up for this section. We thinking of Web3 and the Feder thing, Fediverse, that thing. We added support for Mastodon into Yoast SEO Premium, which we've talked about as Twitter's erstwhile competitor. You can now go in and verify your site as your Mastodon profile, vice versa, in Yoast SEO Premium, which is quite nice. We also added an easy digital download integration. So if you are selling software or virtual goods, etc., we make that play much more seamlessly with EDD. You can go in, that all gets turned on automatically, as well as some improvements to the inclusive language stuff, which we should have talked about. If you haven't turned this on, go into your site, Yoast SEO settings, find the inclusive language toggle, turn that on, and we will tell you in your content where you might be being accidentally exclusionary or racist or offensive, and we will give you suggestions on ways that you might tweak your wording to avoid that. Some people will say that is very woke and you shouldn't do that. our opinion remains that if you're doing SEO, your objective is to reach the largest possible audience. And if you find that you're accidentally excluding or offending them, then you are losing 20% of that reach. Why would you do that? So it's worth going in and using this and taking advantage of it. And it makes the world a better place. Nice. We also just got back from WordCamp Asia in Bangkok, which was awesome, where we saw about 1,500 of you. And there were about 1,500 of us in this photo, I think. It was pretty awesome. We had a great time. I brought back quite a nasty stomach bug. But other than that, it was a really good experience. Great stuff. Okay, last up, we are having another one of these next month, as we do every month. That is no surprise. We will see you on the 28th. Now, let's do some interesting stuff, shall we? Ooh. Alex, you have a heavy brief in front of you. You are going to teach and convince us that the world is changing and that we stand on the edge of a precipice and that Web 3.0 is a thing and that NFTs aren't just monkey pictures. Shall I hand over my screen for sharing so that you can drive through your slides?
Oh, yes, please. I can control these slides remotely.
Do you have a link to the to that deck?
I don't.
Let me send you.
Yes, it is in Slack, I think.
I've closed Slack to stop all the noises in the background, you see. So I'll just reopen it now quickly and open it.
Cool. We could do one question in the meantime whilst you're opening that up.
Oh, yes. Let me look at our Q&A because we have a very long question from Mike King. Do we know if Google rate... wait a second, I can click it here. Yes. Do we know if Google rates authoritativeness by the number of articles written by an author per their byline? For example, if Alex has written 100 articles about bananas, will his authority as a knowledge expert on bananas increase the A in EEAT for any future articles?
I guess the short answer is yes. That's kind of how they purport that system to work. That's the idea behind that system. I think the mechanics are a little more machine learning-y and a little more black box than that. They're definitely not counting numbers of articles and matching up the author byline, but they are using all of their big brain superpowers to go, okay, this was the same person. This is the same kind of topic area. Yes, this person talks a lot about this thing. It's not a big stretch to imagine they might also compare that to the link graph and say this person writes lots of articles about bananas that lots of people link to and cite who are also fruit experts, and to join all that up. So yeah, I wouldn't just go, let's write lots of banana articles by the same author name. You've actually got to do the authority thing and prove it, but that's a big part of it, yeah.
Does that also mean that to help Google understand this better, having a decent schema integration and properly tagging that in your site is important?
Yeah, definitely. The schema structured data is a big part of this, which is why it's a big part of Yoast SEO. And for this specifically, if you're using Yoast SEO Premium, go into your author profile settings. We add a whole bunch of settings for things like what languages does this person speak? Where did they go to school? What's their honorific suffix? What are their areas of expertise? Fill out all of those. That goes in your schema too. Cool. Alex, you look like you're struggling.
I have not got a link in Slack, and I thought it was maybe because it was slowly loading for me, but it's not here. Although maybe if you put the first slide up, I could chat through the first slide.
Yeah, let me do that.
Multitask, maybe.
You can just tell me when to click. That'll work.
Oh, no. Do that.
We did a nice little Q&A interlude. That was pleasant. Let me go. We're on.
Let me quickly get the question out of the screen and then yes,
that's a good question. Nice interlude.
Excellent. And now I've got oh no, okay, cool. So yes, the Web3, this Web3 business, it's a new technology that you think's not important now, but it's kind of inevitable. It's going to go that way. I think there's a Web5 as well. I don't know what happened to Web4. I don't know if that was the one with George Clooney in it. They just Christian Bale of Web. But Web3, it's a technology, and all you have to think about at the moment is what is Web3, right? It's the way you log in. So Web 1, very simply, Web 1 is what's your username and password, right? Web 2 is log in with this social profile, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, connect. That's Web 2 in action from a technical web development point of view. Web 3 is connect with your digital wallet. And I can connect just like I can connect with LinkedIn. And instead of signing in with my username and password, I will use my wallet that I may have. There's different wallets out there, MetaMask being one of the most popular. And I can sign things using my wallet. Some cost money and some don't. And I can get into that if you want to. But you can kind of sign something. It signs you in. It authorizes that it's you. And then you can just log in, right? And what does that mean, though? In short, it means that you can gain access to things by logging in through a different profile, whether it be Web 1 or Web 2 or Web 3. And with Web 3, you can keep it anonymous should you wish to do so, because it's free to create your own wallet, and you can have loads, you can have one, you can have 100, and you can log in as different profiles as well as a result and connect that wallet with things that you want to own, like digital assets, which an NFT is. So yeah, what's on the next slide anyway? So the good explanation of this is what's happening between Web 2 and 3. Web 2, I don't know if you should look for this interview with David Letterman and Bill Gates. And he's trying to explain, and he's being so polite doing it as well. He's trying to explain a forum to someone, right? Which is, I guess, is, social networking version 1, right? So he was just saying, well, I can listen to a football match on the internet, and then Letterman just goes, "Isn't that a radio?" And all the audience are laughing like, "You idiot! You could go on a computer and listen to something. I can just turn on the radio." He goes, "Yeah, but I can discuss it with like-minded people in a website where I have my own profile." Blah blah blah. And he kept on taking the mick out of him. Now I'm thinking, like, everyone's on it. That's normal place now, and it's got to a point where in Web 2. Where we're talking about TikTok, and I find it odd because I'm simply not the audience. I'm too old now. I'm a Facebook generation, not TikTok generation. That just like TikTok was going to be something, and you knew it at the time that it was going to maybe overtake some things. And I wasn't surprised by the news because there's more younger people making purchases and there's more of them using more technology that's easily accessible. That Web 3 is something that generation is going to be very interested in because people want digital assets as well as physical assets in the future. It's hard to get your head around, and it took me months. And every time I asked myself a question and answered it, I created 3 more questions. And then after about 2 months, it was 2 more questions. And after 3 months, it was 1 more question. Then you finally get your head around what Web 3 is. But for the normal user, it is a way that you can log in and use tokens or assets to either be part of a profile or an avatar that you make, all the way down to a loyalty card for a brand. So yeah,
if I could just jump in, I just had that light bulb moment. There's such a nice simple overview there that new and emerging generations value digital assets, and that's a big concept, and that's a new thing. That's not anything that we've had before. But I can see that in me, that there are hobbies I have and games I play and things I do where I see value in the things that I own in those ecosystems that don't exist in the real world, that kind of start to feel a bit Web3, that in a Web3 world would have had a marketplace, would be owned by me truly. That's the transition. That's the world that we're moving to. Interesting.
Yeah, and the fact that it's digital and unique and yours means that because you own something, you can go down to generate. It's easier to ensure, maybe at the moment, because I know there's a lot of hacking out there. But if I buy a piece of art, and we'll use the Mona Lisa is the best example. This is how I use it. So there's only one Mona Lisa. It's in an art gallery. That's your NFT, right? Now everyone goes, "Oh, it's just a JPEG." Well, yes, it is. Okay, so I can take a picture or scan or whatever you do with the Mona Lisa, and I can replicate it, right? So I can be an official license holder. So I can be in the Louvre on the way out, and in the shop on the way out, I can buy a poster of the Mona Lisa, right? I don't own the Mona Lisa, but I'll pay a lot for that poster because I'm in the building where it's there. Then I'll go outside, and there'll be some unofficial guy on a street corner selling the poster for much less, right? It's got the exact same poster, maybe less quality on a physical note, but from an asset point of view, it's the same thing. But again, I have zero interest legally or monetarily in the Mona Lisa, and I never ever will. The only people who do are the people who own the Mona Lisa, right? And that is the NFT, is the Mona Lisa. And you can have one. You can be an artist and you create one NFT and only one person gets it, and that person can pay whatever they wish for it. Or I can release an edition of 1,000 of the same thing, just like art. I can have 1,000 limited edition prints and they'll all be exactly the same, but I'll have one of 1,000 and there's 999 of everyone. And that can be to X. Or I can have a generative version, which I can only compare to Top Trumps. You know, there's, and we can talk about Bored Apes, which is the most successful NFT release out there. In short, it's 10,000 generative versions of the same framework of an ape's head, a headshot, and they all have different mouth variations, eye variations, somewhere hats, all different variations. That's put into a spreadsheet where millions theoretically can be made. That's all layered up in Photoshop or Illustrator, and then a script translates that with the matrix and then generates all 10,000 of these images. In this game, though, that was done by ranking. So you might have rarity, and there might only be 1 out of 10,000 that wear a specific hat, right? And that makes it more valuable because there's only 1 of them. And that is how the NFT ecosystem happens. But why would I care about the NFT other than that? I don't know what's on the next slide. I like this. I don't know even what's on there. So there's lots of
slide karaoke.
Yeah, there's lots of different types of NFTs that you can have. And I won't go through all of these things, but technically you can own an NFT. You can have an app on your phone where you can prove it's yours, and it should provide something called utility. Like, what do I get as an owner of the NFT other than having an ape's head and knowing that it's highly ranking and therefore valuable? Well, they've done some use cases. They did something called Ape Fest, where Snoop Dogg and Eminem, who each own their own ape, came out and they did a concert that only apes can get into. And the only way you can get in is by verifying yourself by owning that NFT. It's like a ticket, and that provides access. And that's just one example. You can get airdropped. So I can find out if you own an ape. And if you do, I'll send you another NFT of my choosing for free. It can be anything. It can be my brand. I can try and promote it, and people get loads of airdrops. Influencers get loads and loads and loads every day. And there's lots of different ways that can happen. So it's an asset, but not just something you keep, but it's something that you can utilize. And that's where brands do come in, and they've done different things with doing that. So, thank you very much. So here are some considerations for brands who are entering the metaverse. So producing a solid roadmap. Roadmaps are essentially your business plan, right? So if I'm going to sell 10,000 variations of this headshot, and you're basically entering at a base price, call it $250, and you're entering a bingo, right? Raffle, essentially. You don't know which out of the 10,000 you are going to get for your $250. You might get ranked the very bottom, but you might have number 1. And if you have number 1, like and it does well, the whole system and platform does well, then you will do well as a result. And you might choose to keep it. And that might be your flex, what's in your bag, in your digital wallets. And that's what people like, because people are brand conscious, right? So it's kind of like they're creating their own brand. But what do you do if you sell to $250 each times 10,000? What's $2.5 million? They can sell out within the hour. And then what do you do? And that is when some people decide to scarper. And they go, oh, right, I just got $2.5 million. Maybe I won't actually fulfill my roadmap. But let's say you're not a rug puller, of which...
rug puller.
Yeah, well, it's all these terms. So in Web3, everything has terms, because it's kind of like a gamer stroke crypto niche that everyone's still in. Think about it. I think there was about 500,000 active wallets on Ethereum, right? That's a very low figure, but everyone's
it's not many.
It's not many at all, but it's creating a massive ecosystem. And there's kind of an NFT Illuminati out there as well, who just say we're big investors, blah blah blah, and you have big names in there. You've got the likes of like Kevin Rose, who you'll know as the founder of Dig. He got involved with stuff. He's created his own system, his own release called Moonbirds, that's gained access into bars and stuff like that. But do I know what he's doing in 5 years? No. You can communicate it, but you don't know what's happening. And there's big players out there who get really, really screwed over or decide that they don't want to continue and pursue that roadmap. So anyway, I'm babbling already. So there are pros and cons to this. If we take away the Wild Westness and the crypto element of an NFT, what is there for me? And in short, I would say it's the new form of brand loyalty, right? So if I'm Adidas, who are very, very involved in Web3, they have their own releases, and you can buy certain NFTs that you and I both know in the future, Web3 is either going to go downhill, at which none of this matters, or it's going to go very, very much normality, at which point they will utilize the NFTs that release now in the future. That's like us as collectors using Star Wars figurines and knowing that I can basically walk into a car garage and get a specific car that no one else can get just because I own that figurine. But I'm never going to take that figurine out with me, but you'll take the digital asset out with you. It creates that access and the real brand loyalty. And you can do
Adidas is a really good example, I think, because the trainers and sneakers market, we know that there is a kind of an extrinsic value to owning a pair of sneakers. That then it makes perfect sense to bolt that onto a digital asset and to make that an NFT and to do Web3 stuff with it.
Yeah, and it can essentially be a form of like a crypto version of Kickstarter, if you want to compare it to that. So I bought some digital sneakers, most expensive sneakers I bought, and I can't wear them, right? But it goes towards the system, and I bought it on secondary, which means someone made a bit of a profit. So I bought someone else who had previously minted theirs when the day it was released. And I've still got them, but I know that the guy who used to work for Adidas or Nike or whoever, he works for Aglet, who are in Manchester, who do digital sneakers. I know that he'll use that cash at some point in the future, if he has enough resource, to create physical sneakers. And that's why I bought them, because oh, cool, I can actually get a pair of physical sneakers. And I don't know what in the future. He may get bought out by Adidas, and then all of a sudden my NFT is part of Adidas. All of these things that can create a lot of loyalty is going to be really useful. But right now, it's a massive echo chamber, unfortunately, where it's full of, self-proclaimed degens, gamers who, don't like normies. And you're like, well, for it to get to the next stage, you're going to have to get the normies on board, because otherwise you're just going to stay here in this gaming bubble, which, albeit is a huge industry in itself, but it's only one industry.
With a finite amount of money, right? And yeah.
Exactly. So what the brands want to do, think of it like a Tesco club card. We can all get one for free, but if I spend more money in Tesco, I'll get more vouchers. They'll send me more offers. It's as simple as that.
That's nice.
And brands like Boohoo have done that. They offered 10,000 free cards that was just a digital card being flipped in a 3D manner that was made by someone called Amy, who's in Sheffield. And I've got one of them. I don't shop at Boohoo, but I wanted one because I want to know, as a person who's into NFTs that much, I want to know what they're going to do with it in 3 years' time. Like, someone I know going to want to buy my original Boohoo pass, and that might be interesting. The next bull run, what are brands going to do? Because it's too connected to crypto at the moment.
Yeah.
So I hope I haven't confused things even more. I'm definitely a rabbit hole. Definitely a rabbit hole.
No, that was super interesting. Thank you. Really, really cool. I keep anchoring it back to people perceive value in digital objects, and because they are inherently JPEGable, right? You need a system that says this is the thing, and it is it's intransmutable, it's non-fungible, etc. If I'm going to protect the value in the digital asset that I have, it needs a way of containing that.
Yeah, I mean, even if you use a use case for Yoast, for example, you could mint 10 NFTs. Whoever holds them gets free entry to YoastCon every year, right? It gets Yoast Premium for life, right? Yeah. Only 10 holders have that. Now, if I got one, I could win it in a raffle, or I could buy it, could go towards charity or whatever the project is. And then 3 months later, I might sell it to someone else. And then I no longer, because of the Web3 connection with the website, I will no longer have rights to go to any future YoastCon. I've sold it to someone else who's now going to hold it. That's a perfect example about what brands can do with it.
Nice.
Yeah, I do think that the question that Caleb asks in the chat is a very good one, because why does this need to be an NFT? What's wrong with your traditional loyalty card that you can also sell and that could give access to all the Yoast cons?
Absolutely.
Ticket scalping and loss and no record of transaction.
Yeah, it reduces fraud. That's a good example. Concerts. I'm surprised concerts haven't got more into NFTs. Yeah. That's their access. And you can't go on secondary. The curator could control what happens to things afterwards a little bit. And more importantly, the actual curator can still get royalties. Which is a debate within Web3 where you can have passive income. You know, if you create these 10,000 every time it's sold in primary, of course, you get that money straight away. But every time, let's say my NFT is worth $10,000, I'll sell it, but then I have to give 10% or whatever that percentage is in the smart contract to the original creators. And think about how many can be sold in a day, how many can be turned over, and 10% of that goes straight back to the original creator. So if you're a musician, you can do that. You can have people have released albums, you know, and they can gain access to audio only if you hold that NFT, and therefore you can gain access to music with it, which can also get you into a concert. Maybe that artist can pick one NFT from who they know is in the crowd, get up on stage and have a dance, and only the holder of that. And oh, sorry, I forgot my card. I forgot my loyalty card. It's at home. I can't get on stage now. That is. It's that seamless part of technology where we can say, why don't we just keep on using our credit cards? And the answer is you can, but everyone's using it on their phone now, you know?
Yeah.
It's convenience.
Yeah. I get that. I get that. I'm the kind of person that then goes like, yes, I have my NFT. Oh, my phone just died.
Yeah, it's the same thing, but phones are always going to die until people make better batteries, you know?
Yeah.
Why isn't AI making better batteries for us? Maybe we should ask it that. How do you make a battery 100 times more efficient?
All right. Let's see. We did answer Caleb's question. Let me quickly. Yep. The big concern is why does it need to be the wallet? Yeah, and then we have an question by Tom. What kind of security goes along with an NFT? How can it be deemed genuine?
Provenance. So if I create a wallet and I log in, let's say I'm now the curator. If the process of putting my NFT or processing an NFT and creating one is you mint one, and it's done so on the blockchain. And without going into all blockchain technology, blockchain is open, transparent, immutable, and it is a form of provenance. Kind of like if you buy a piece of art, you'll also have an accompanying certificate of authenticity. That's what the NFT is when it's minted by that verified creator and the wallet that's attached to them. So Alex Moss, I created this piece of art, I've minted it on the blockchain, and you have now bought that NFT. That can be proven. And that's very important, not just for art. I mean, that can go for legal, right? You can sell houses, that can be the lease. So it's the technology behind it. But right now it's, you know, the whole generative art thing and scripts and the fact that it's gaming, it's just been encompassed everything around there, and art, which is great, which has opened it up. But the normal everyday activity that blockchain can provide in terms of security as well is there's a lot of opportunity. But there's a lot of risk, right? You know, I talked about Kevin Rose before. He's clearly very into Web3 and highly intelligent. And he got $2 million worth of NFT stolen out of his wallet because he signed the wrong contract. And if he did that, then who am I? And if I understand stuff about NFTs, then who's a normie? You know, there's no way. Even my parents only started trusting Amazon 3 years ago, you know? Like, what hope do my parents have on getting onboarded to Web3? And the answer is none. And that's why it's going to take a lot longer than the Web3 echo chamber wants it to, but they have no choice.
Nice.
All right. I think that with that, we've almost hit up on the full hour.
Oof, wow.
That was fast.
Anyone still alive? If you survived that in chat, wave.
Yes. So If people have any further questions for you, Alex, where do they find you?
They can find me on Twitter at Alex Moss. Very imaginative. Not Alex Moss. And my name is Alex Moss. Just that small part over there. And I run an agency called Fire Cask, which is fire that burns and cask is in a barrel of whiskey.com. So yeah, you can find me there. Alex at Firecask is my email as well.
All right.
I'm around.
And Jono, if people have questions for you, where do they find you?
Also at Twitter, I've not yet abandoned for Mastodon, so I'm at Jono Alderson, or anywhere at Yoast.com, I guess, or at YoastCon in person.
That sounds like a really good idea. And of course, in the next Yoast SEO news webinar that you can sign up for through the button here at the bottom. So thank you all for joining today. It was lovely to have you here. And see you again next month at YoastCon. And maybe at some point we'll have those Yoast NFTs.